Monday, April 24th, 2017 at 6:30. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Open minutes for 4:10.
I make a motion to approve the minutes for Monday, April 10th, 2017, as written.
You have a motion, have a second?
Second.
Have a motion, second. Any discussion? I see none. John?
Yes.
Julie?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well.
I make a motion to approve the minutes of Thursday, April 12th, 2017, as written.
Okay, have a motion, have a second?
Second.
Okay, I have a second by Doug. Any other discussion? See none. John?
Yes.
Julie?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well.
I make a motion to approve the executive session minutes of March 13th, 2017, striking the word "and" between Carter Terenzini and Julie Richard, and to be released in its entirety to the public.
Okay, I have a motion. Have a second?
Second.
A motion, second. Any discussion concerning the executive session minutes for March 13th? I see none. John?
Yes.
Julie?
Abstain.
Diane?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well.
I make a motion to approve the executive session minutes from March 27th, 2017, to be released in its entirety to the public.
Okay, motion, have a second?
Second.
Motion, second. Any discussion concerning the minutes for, the executive session minutes for March 27th? I see none. John?
Yes.
Julie?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Okay, moving on to new business. The Economic Development Committee, Mr. Glenn Eaton will be here at a later time. He was coming late, so I'm gonna move on to the presentation of the finance team report for 4 to 3 for FY17.
Okay. The third quarter, during the third quarter, we were able to finish both of the audits for 15 and 16. Those were completed in January. Very happy to report that tomorrow night is the final presentation of the audits, and we can put that chapter behind us and move forward. So I'm very anxious for that meeting tomorrow night to happen and be able to move on. You'll see in your report that the expense transfers that we have set up for the annual town meeting to cover the shortages or the issues that we have in several accounts. There potentially might be something else, you know, but we're not sure at this point. But as it stands, that's what we have right now. The 3 expense concerns we still have going forward, of course, is the snow and ice, which right now is in deficit approximately $130,000 for this year. The fire EMS expenses, the expense portion of their supplies and that type of thing is going to be short, but they have extra in the salaries, so we may have to do some sort of transfer later, but we're holding off on that till we know more closely as to what their expenses are actually gonna be. The same with the vehicle maintenance expense. Right now, based on the transfer that was done from the advisory committee reserve, they're doing okay right now, but closer to the end of the year, we may need to move some additional money at that point. But we prefer to wait till we get closer to see if we need to do anything with that. The revenue trends, I'm happy to report that as of the third quarter, of what we have budgeted of revenue, we've collected 78%. So we're a little bit ahead of collecting, you know, the 75% we would normally be at for the quarter. So, and we have the billing going out. the 1st of May for the 4th quarter of the bills, so they're due the 1st of May, so we'll be getting in a lot of additional revenue in the next few weeks.
Okay, great. I just have one question.
Yes,
On the fire EMS expenses, is some of
Yes.
that, can some of that ambulance and streets receivable pay for any of that? If it's
not
ambulance?
at this point,
Okay, just curious.
yeah, they're running short also in the ambulance receipts,
Okay,
so,
what the appropriation was?
what the
I got you.
appropriation
Okay.
is.
Thank you.
My report for the assessor's office. This pretty much wraps up the busy time in our office for the tax season. Many residents who weren't in came in to file for abatement applications. The deadline for this was March 31st, that's now come and gone. Abatement applications in real estate and personal property were received January 1st through February 1st. Abatement applications were received from homeowners, but one's in the process of being denied, and the second one, the homeowner pulled the application. So this year, there were no abatements given on people's real estate and personal property taxes. In addition to real estate and personal property, 3rd and 4th quarter commitments, 5 omitted bills were sent out for $21,336, and a revised bill was sent out for $357.24. Also, we had 7 supplemental bills. This is for 1 new commercial property that was built in town, and also for 6 new residential constructions built. So there's a total additional taxes of $17,140.39. So this supplemental billing will also add to our new growth for fiscal 18. January brought in our major motor vehicle commitment, along with 3 additional commitments, to a total of $898,775.49 in excise being committed to date. I do have another one that's gonna be coming in May too also, so that's gonna be probably for another $60,000 or more. With these commitments, traffic flow was a little heavier in our offices, as a lot of people were filing for abatements in February and March because they were trading their old vehicles and getting new vehicles, which is a good plus for us because it's bringing in more revenue to us. 1 Title V loan payoff was processed in January, bringing the interest to our Title V program back to the Board of Health, so there's more people that can use that money for Title V loans. I haven't received any news yet from the DOR, Division of Local Services, in regards to a pending ATV case that we do have with Verizon. Currently, the town's looking at an abatement around $10,000 with no interest, and this would come out of overlay, which there's plenty of money to cover that. This has been anticipated for a couple of years, and it's statewide, it's not just the town, it's all cities and towns in Massachusetts. Worked on the budgets with Carter and Kelly. Sue, my assistant in the office, continues to help out Kelly if she needs anything, whether it's weekly vendor warrants or stuff. She does that still in our office, answering our phones and taking care of the customers too. So anytime she needs her, I do offer her to Kelly to help her out. Mapping updates on our website cartographics was sent out in March, and the update should be ready by the end of April. These updates are done on a yearly basis, so anything that was changed on property record cards January 1st to December 31st of 16 will be showing on the new town maps that'll be coming in the end of the month. That's pretty much what's done in our office, and if you got any questions.
No, thank you so much. Who's in the treasure collector piece?
You want me to read it?
Sure.
For the treasurer collector, commitment 1 and 2 for motor vehicle excise bills were sent out. The commitment 1 excise demands have also been sent out. Fiscal 17 quarter 4 real estate and personal property bills were sent out, and like I said, they're due May 1st. So they're gearing up to be extremely busy that first week of May. The outstanding fiscal 15 real estate accounts have been put into tax title. Final notices were sent to fiscal 16 outstanding real estate accounts prior to placing them in tax title, so they're given a final notice before we're gonna put them in the newspaper and put them in tax title. I do believe that there has been a pretty good amount that has come in from that. I think it's around $15,000 of people that have come in and paid to avoid that.
Okay.
The remaining outstanding personal property bills were sent to Jeffrey and Jeffrey for collection. And then they had 10 certificates of dissolvements on sewer betterments, and 50 certificates of municipal liens were completed for attorneys. So that means houses are selling.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
Outside of the April 30 date, in your administrator's report, you may have noticed that as we go into the public advertising of the tax title taking, the outstanding accounts for fiscal 16 dropped from 92 to 58 overall.
Wow, okay, good.
We collected $46,000 with that additional supplemental. There's about $56,000 remains outstanding. I think you'll probably see 25%, give or take, of that come in once these are advertised next week.
Right.
So staying on top of those notifications and following through on the publication does bear fruit. So I just wanted you to be aware of that.
Right.
If there are any questions after you've had a chance to look this over, I know you had it for the weekend, but sometimes it's always helpful to have the staff in front of you. If within the next 2 weeks, you can just send any of your questions to us. This will go to the advisory committee tomorrow, and we will ask them for their comments within 2 weeks as well, then we can get you some answers. I'd also like to note that at your next board meeting, you will see the Public Works, Public Safety, and Community Services team in front of you giving similar reports.
Right.
And then you'll be on a cycle of every quarter, not all in one night, of course, but those 4 basic teams coming in front of you with a formal written report every 3 months or so.
And I think we should do with that community service, I know it's not built yet, but I think those teams like Veteran Services as well as the Council on Aging, they should be briefing Economic Development Committee, et cetera.
Yes,
At least quarterly, if not biannually.
Yeah. And we'll have that discussion, because we have development services
Yep.
to get in there also. We just need to get them into a rhythm. The most important, coming to a bit of a conclusion tomorrow night, has been the Administration and Finance Committee.
Thank you so much, Kelly, Luann, thank you very much, very good job. Appointment to the Veterans Board. We have a Ms. Sheila Pelletier. You come up. Hi, Ms. Pelletier, how are you? So you have interest in being on the Templeton Veterans Advisory Board and the secretary position? Great. Does anybody have any questions for Ms. Pelletier?
No, highly qualified. Thank you so much for wanting to do this. If there aren't any questions, I'll make a motion.
You guys have any questions for Ms. Pelletier?
I don't. Didn't hear him, I'm sorry.
I said no, you're good to go.
Okay, I make a motion to appoint Sheila Elizabeth Pelletier to the Veterans Service Board with a term to, is there an expiry? It's for, till,
We do June 30th.
to June 30th, 2017, sorry, and then we'll have to do it again, after that.
Okay, I have a motion to appoint. Any other discussion, or do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion, second, any discussion? I see none. John?
Yes.
Julie?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
And I abstain. Thank you very much.
Okay.
I appreciate it. Welcome. It's gonna be awesome. It's good to have you on board. Thanks, sir. Contract for Scout Hall, the installation contract. Okay. Down. Are you here to talk about the installation?
Yes, if
Right.
you have any questions.
Okay.
So, I have a question for Julie. It
She
says,
just left.
well, it says
Go
here
ahead.
that it, sorry.
That's okay.
She checked with National Lumber, but it doesn't say what the outcome was, and I read this online, so,
Right.
was there some quote in here? No.
No,
Hold on one
I
second,
don't think
Steve.
they ever got back to her. Well, she started quoting out things with them and they
Never got
Okay.
back.
let it
So
go.
there just needs to be
Did
a,
National Lumber get back with you?
They did not.
They did not, okay, great. So, right now, we just have quality insulation. Is that the only,
That was the only quote that we got back. We reach out to those others on the front page that are listed.
okay,
okay, so where are the files being held, at the moment? Oh, here comes the chapter 30B questions.
Yep.
So, to have good, clean files, like all these notes should be in there, a copy of the contract and any, are we doing, you know, where did it say in here? I'm sorry, this writing was so small on my computer. So, do we pay a portion of it up front and then we pay a portion as when they finish? Do we, you know, are they gonna are there any other, I know it's less than that, but I think that we need to have some procedures.
So, with the very few exceptions, conferences, subscriptions, newspaper subscriptions and the like, you cannot pay anything up front.
Okay.
So this will be pegged to the benchmarks that they've outlined in their proposal. Now, with some of these small companies, we do go ahead and get checks ready, knowing they're gonna be on the job, get the job done in a day or two, so we've got the check for them right away. We will, once you authorize someone to execute this contract, we will make up the contract file in our office. When you have an opportunity aside, I would like to work on those more formal procedures we've been talking about.
Do they have appropriate insurance?
Yes.
they would have to pull a permit.
They what?
They would have to pull a permit.
I guess I just wanna make sure that all of that, I mean, we're not seeing that here, we're just seeing a copy of a contract, and I would wanna make sure that before we sign the contract that we have, or whoever is going to sign that contract, that we see all of that. And then at the end, are we gonna start having people sign something that says, this is it, we're done, we're not?
You get a release of waivers and liens.
Thank you. Okay,
Yep.
so.
Yep.
Okay.
That's good. You guys have any other thoughts and discussions on this? And this is still coming from the CPC funds, I would assume?
Yes.
Well, we sign all contracts, correct?
You should authorize someone to sign it, yes.
Okay, so I guess I would like to know the board's feeling, happy to make a motion, on this, subject to receipt of, proper insurance and all that, but I think that the board should be signing, all the contracts and not, no offense, just to have some continuity, that it's either the chair, the whole board, so some contracts I've seen are signed by the TA, some are signed by the entire board, some are, so I guess,
Well, we can identify anybody, I mean, even
Okay,
like
so
the vice chair at that point, I mean, I don't wanna nominate you, but I mean, if you're gonna, I know you're looking into all the
I am.
30B stuff, so I think this might be something for you to look into even more as you're putting your signature on these contracts.
well, I just think, since we're, this will probably be the first thing that's come before us since the, training, so.
Right. Right.
I mean, it's only my opinion about having the chair sign. Does anybody else have any other added commentary?
No, I think having the chair is appropriate, especially since we're still under just a interim town administrator.
So,
My only concern with that, with this particular contract, is that that person happens to be on the committee for Scott Hall. That would be Mr.
The
Calkins.
chair?
Yes.
I am,
oh, I'm sorry.
that's why I was looking at you, Diane, as the vice chair,
Okay.
sorry. I love it.
Why?
I love
Do
this
I
town.
have to?
You raised the question, don't
Well,
answer the
I mean,
question if you
I'm
don't want
saying
to.
under a normal
sign
course of circumstances,
Yes.
it's not just for this, it's just in general. Just to know that we have that consistency and that we should have, you know, some kind of checklist. Did we do this? Did we do that? Did we make this phone call? Did we, you know, and again, I'm happy to, I wanna get through
I would suggest,
town meeting and
I would
elections
suggest you
first.
keep this one simple, we try to work it out
Yeah.
in
Do you
a
decide?
set of procedures.
Okay. Sorry, John.
Just authorize someone to sign.
Okay, fine.
For starters, there's only one signature line.
This is the whole total though, right? Yes. So I make a motion to approve the contract for quality insulation in the amount of $8,214 to be signed by the town administrator interim. Just easier.
Okay, I have a motion, do I have a second?
Subject to receipt of the insurance and all that. It says quality insulation.
It's quality
It's
insulation.
quality, not,
I know.
that's what it says here.
It is quality
Sorry.
insulation.
Okay, I thought so,
It is quality.
when I read the contract. Anyway, we had it first.
Okay, I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second, any other discussion concerning the insulation? Yes, ma'am.
How are they gonna do this? Is it blown-in insulation?
Okay.
Is it blanket insulation?
Ma'am, based on the contract, there's blown-in insulation and bad insulation, there's both.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
so if they blow it in, are they gonna patch the?
Based on the contract, they will patch all holes that are made, yes,
Just
ma'am.
asking.
Yep, that's good questions, good questions. That is on the contract,
And it's an antique building?
yes. Any other discussion? I see none. John?
Yes.
Julie?
Abstain.
Diane?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
And I abstain. Thanks,
Thank you, Alan.
Director.
Been sewing up for line.
And these are we gonna put, as we discussed, we're gonna start putting these contracts online as well, correct? So the people have a right to view these
Yes.
as well? Okay, thank you.
And that will be for every department. and
Yes.
And every committee in the town that has little projects going on.
That should be.
They're all going to be visible, correct?
That's correct. That's correct.
They're all
All
gonna be what?
visible online, all contracts should be online, so the people have the right to view them if need be or want to. Okay, moving on to the warrant for annual town meeting.
Mr. Chairman?
Yep.
I got a substantial number of emails from town council this morning. It caused some revisions, in some instances as simple as removing the tables, in others, reordering where some things were placed. And he did get us the language on the various revolving funds.
Okay.
To establish it by bylaw. We can do one of two things. If you are prepared to approve the warrant in substantially the form as presented, subject to the various changes of town council. Personally, I would feel a little bit more comfortable if I could get the revision out to you either later tonight. There's still one or two questions that were coming in, or in the morning, so that you had a chance to at least put them side by side and compare them a little bit. We would then have, at the end of the meeting tomorrow night, for you to formally vote on it. And there's one other matter that I'll report to you on staff member comments.
Okay, do you wanna go through each article at this point? Would that be the most beneficial?
This has changed with town council's comments this morning.
Oh, okay. All right, so,
But the general essence of it, it's the same number of articles, we're not taking articles away or adding
There's,
articles.
there's, there's one that we took out, because he dealt with the, let me do this quickly here then. Fiscal one remains essentially the same. He's provided some other sources of funding. I'm not sure why, but I think it's because he uses the boilerplate borrow, use free cash. I mean,
Yeah.
plugged in a bunch of stuff that you don't have any access to, but, and he's asked me to move the table out, easy enough. Article 2, A and B, he'd like to leave in the revolving funds. He wants to move to a bylaw, because we're in that twixt and tween. The statute says you do it by bylaw. DOR submitted some curative legislation that hasn't passed yet, so he feels like we need to go with the statute as it sits. So 3 and 4 dug out, you said, when you ask we haven't deleted, yes, they come out for a
Okay.
single bylaw elsewhere. 5 gets moved, he'd like it a little closer to the actual budget article. 6 stays, though it's renumbered. 7, 8, 9, they don't have legal comments on, back to me on 9 yet, but those 3 stay. They just get renumbered because of the couple that get dropped. 10, that stays. 11 gets dropped, he feels that that should be handled in the motion. 12 stays, though it gets renumbered.
Tell me about 11 again?
Yeah, I didn't understand that.
He feels that the funding should come in conjunction with Article 14, that Article 14 should be rewritten, and that all of the actual dollars and then the appropriations should come in the motion.
Okay.
And, you know, I arm wrestled over the ones that were kind of important to me and left them alone on the other ones, quite frankly.
Well, that makes sense, though.
15, he had wanted to try to put the actual number of dollars that were gonna be transferred, and what I tried to explain to him, that we don't know that until June 30th, because they're spending right up to the last day of the fiscal year, so that seemed, he had a small change to the 16, renumbered 16, so that it's for compensation, stipends, benefits, and operating expenses. He wanted to make sure that those were spelled out. 17, he wanted a number of changes to, and I just said that this is one I hadn't wanted to expend energy on. 18 and 19 stay, though they're renumbered. 20 stays pretty much the way it is. He would like the table to come out and to deal with that in the summary and motions document. I will tell you that DRA, strike that, wrong state. DLR has asked to meet with us tomorrow. Kelly and I will be meeting with the representative. They want to go through revenue and some of the other numbers. They've been getting some inquiries, so they'd like to have that sit down. We'll see if they have any changes that come out of that. 21, no changes. 22, he wanted us to remove the table and deal with that in the motions and the motions and summary document. 23, he wanted the breakdown, the 1, 2, 3, and 4 to be part of the summary and motion documents, not part of the warrant, and the same on 24.
So then we're gonna have the motions available to the people also? Since we're
Yes,
pulling
once-
so much information out?
Once we get that done, we'll move immediately into writing that motion and summary document.
So we'll have that document available to the residents?
Yes.
Yep.
It'd be a handout.
I would say, give me a week. So subject to any last minute comments that they have on the Capitol, they wanted to confirm with the bond council the use of those bond proceeds, and then the meeting with DOR tomorrow. Those are the, in the bylaw, there would be a bylaw for the revolving funds. The only not confusing part, I guess, is we're adding the 2 new ones, so we'll have to explain that. And you no longer put the total limit on expenditures from the funds. That column actually is the fiscal year's that it's for. Because you do it now by bylaw with this table inserted in it.
Okay. Great.
It will be a little hinky because towns will be adopting bylaws. They have to get those bylaws approved by the AG. And legally, you're in limbo land come July 1 if the AG hasn't approved the bylaw. Because you can't approve revolving funds the way you did it previously. So what we will do is we will have the town clerk, within a day or two after town meeting, get that one bylaw certified immediately, get that thing right down to the State House as
Okay.
quickly as we can. And then we'll do the others afterwards.
So this will be worded differently?
Yeah, there's actually a full bylaw that goes in. You'll be adding a section 6, I think, to Article 5, which is your financial affairs. And then you add the table in that bylaw.
So, okay, I have a couple of questions. So you're saying that there'll be, sorry, you know, I am this visual, so this won't look like this?
Right.
Article 20 or the, Narragansett Regional
Yep.
District, they're all gonna be together?
Yes, in the motions and summary document.
We haven't, but we,
So you
that we
sign it.
haven't seen yet.
Right, so you sign a clean warrant. Once we have a clean warrant, we'll put the article in, then we'll put an explanation of what it's all about, then we put a proposed motion. It is similar to how you did it last year. Prior years, I can't speak to it, 'cause we found the document from last year.
Okay, and then, I swear I read these. There's two, I'm sorry, I have to look them. I don't know if they were just placeholders and I didn't, were these in here before? The 18 and 19, the ratification? 18 had been in there before, 19 at one point had been there just as a placeholder. And with the Okay.
last draft, we gave you that, and the capital committee will be filing, with the next meeting, or however
Okay, so
they
what
decide
is,
to do
what
their
is,
report.
what is being
Nothing.
changed here?
Nothing on those two,
So we did,
other than the number,
no, about the article itself, what are we ratifying? That we're gonna do borrowing instead of,
you're just ratifying the original motion, which was to borrow $975,000.
Okay. Alright. So substantively, we say, you know, if we make a motion to approve this, there's still a lot of changes.
That's why I'm suggesting I would feel
We're not
more
going
comfortable if I could get you the
Tomorrow?
draft, and we'll do it at the end of the meeting tomorrow night. By then, we will also have met with DOR and have their response or reaction to the budget numbers, and we can bring you any changes on those as well.
Okay.
Okay. Sounds good. Yes,
Yeah, how many articles were added to the warrant after the closure date?
added?
At this point, none. I would say none at this point.
None at
They
this
were
point?
all
They
added
were,
by
they
the
were, they were removed.
There was more,
in
there
the
was,
last-
they were removed, right?
Yes, that's, they were removed.
They were removed.
Okay, so the only stuff in, I just wanna make sure I'm clear that the only stuff that was in, that's currently on the warrant are things that were added to the warrant before the closure date, correct?
Mhm. Yes.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
You need to put a document out that says exactly, opening, closing, additions, control of the warrant. There's been a lot of questions, about that, so
Yeah.
some clarification, definitely needs to be done,
I mean, like, I mean,
for that.
I did some research.
We say, I tried to too, but I didn't see anything that says that we can't, or we can, or, so I just wanna make sure that,
Some towns have warrants open all year round. I mean, they're just
well, maybe
open.
we just have to change how we do
And
stuff.
again, even though we can do it, though, we need to explain to people, because that's not been our
Yeah.
practice.
Right.
Right.
You know, we're changing our
I
practice.
think
People need to
that
understand.
if people
Right.
would like a clarification of the selectmen's powers, maybe they should read the selectmen's handbook put out by MMA.
Yes. Yeah, it's a good book. Yep.
If you haven't read that.
Yeah. It's a good book.
So I will, Mr. Chairman, I'll check my emails before I leave tonight to see if I have anything from town council, and if I do, I'll make the revisions before
Great.
I leave and get it out, otherwise I'll just send you where we're at this moment.
That would be great. Mr. Bennett, did you guys already vote on a date for your meeting
For which meeting?
days? The
Freetown?
Freetown, yes.
Yes,
What-
May 3rd,
May 3rd.
yes.
Okay,
And it's been sent to the Gardner News for advertising,
thank you.
so we can make our recommendations and have that report, those recommendations printed and available to the public a minimum of 2 days before town meeting, per town bylaws. We
Right.
try to follow the bylaws.
Of course, of course. I just want a bit backwards plan from May 3rd to make sure that I'm on
And with
time.
regards to the warrant, the Board of Selectmen put out an open date
Yep,
and a closure date.
Right.
And we didn't do that, I mean, nobody else did that, I don't, whatever the Selectmen's handbook says, I don't care. You all put out an open date and a closure date, and I think, as an example, as representatives of the town,
Mhm.
that you should follow those dates and not add stuff
no, understood.
afterward, you know, I mean, it's,
Well, all we did do, to the public's knowledge, is, and for us, is there was some placeholders, because there was some other legal stuff that had to be added and taken away and stuff like that. And those ones that we had placeholders for us, concerning like the EDIC ones, those 3 were taken off.
I know, but I mean, if you're gonna change at the beginning and not, you know, midstream. It
Un-
creates a lot of confusion and a lot of questions.
Understood. I appreciate that, that's why I called you. Thanks, Jeff. All right, building permit fees?
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
as part of the budget presentation, in the review of the revenues and also the proposal to move to the revolving funds to pay the electrical wiring and the plumbing and gas inspectors.
Yeah.
We presented to you a series of proposed new permit fees. These have not been adjusted in 5 to 7 years now. At pages 317, 318, 319, and 320 of your budget book, we would ask that you adopt these fees effective July 1 of this calendar year. We would, if you should do so, we will then, over the coming week or two, get notices out, get some PR out, and try to give homeowners and contractors an opportunity to get their applications in earlier so that they can go under the current fee structure. But this would give them at least roughly 60 days' notice
Okay.
of the change.
Great. Well. Long time coming. Do we have any questions? You have any questions on that?
I don't really have any questions, I have some commentary, so to speak. So in looking at, I just don't want there to be any detriment to coming here, moving here. We say that we want, this is mostly for residential. Yay, nay. Right, residential not, okay, so.
Unfortunately, by your development pattern, you are primarily residential, yes.
So in some of the fees that I looked at, we are below, certain towns, like currently, proposed wiring permit fees are at 180, and the recommended is 225. That's pretty much,
Yeah.
Page 318.
I could probably look at that one. Building permit fees, so the current for Templeton is 1,040, and we're, proposing 1,528, which, I mean, Orange is 1,800, Ashburnham is 1,500. I'd like to know what Westminster's is. I mean, these are the towns that touch us. That just seems high. I mean, if that's the average, then that's fine. I just, again, I don't wanna see any, you know, sometimes people complain about, you know, permitting fees, the process, you know, that's all. I mean, that's probably the highest one I see.
Which one?
The 1,500,
Where are you
that's
looking?
all, you know.
Building permit fees.
I'm sorry, proposed building permit fees, it goes from 1,040 to 1,528.
We charge lower than any town around us right now.
I'm sorry?
The way I'm reading all of these is that we charge a lot lower than any other town around us right now.
Currently, I'd like
Currently.
to see, well, I mean, tax rate wise and, you know,
And that's a new,
just, again,
new dwelling, right? That's a brand new stick
Yes.
construction, okay.
Right, so yeah,
is it
we're
gonna
lower
stop
than-
anybody from doing stuff here is really, kind of my question.
I mean, I'm not a contractor, but,
Right, because we're going from being lower than everybody to being now higher than
some.
everybody except
Orange is outrageous, but,
Orange and Townsend.
Some
I
of
mean,
these-
again,
We're not gonna be
it
higher
needs
than
to
them.
be done, but, you know, we want to encourage, new growth, and we want to, you know, I just don't want there to be,
yeah, I don't, again, I'm not a contractor, but I don't think the permit's gonna stop somebody from building a
well,
house.
if we're not gonna, do this until, I mean, what does Richard say?
This is what
These were
This is
the
what he-
recommendations
he recommended
from,
this.
from Richard. This is their proposal.
Do you want me to see if he's here?
Is there a reason we didn't see what Westminster's or Phillipston or any other, Dudley? I mean, they're obviously higher, but I would like to see more of the Gardner. I mean, none of those towns are on here, and,
Well, no, Gardner's a city, that's a whole different issue.
The
Their rates
reason
are-
is we went through a process to establish 10
oh, that's right.
comparable communities.
And these are part of the,
And we
I
reach
didn't
out
approve
to
those, I
those,
wasn't here, and
Oh,
I would
that's right. I'm
never,
sorry.
even I still would've said no, but,
okay.
we reach out to those communities, so that when the data comes in, the debate is about the data, and, you know, so that we aren't cherry picking or changing
Right,
which we use for what.
okay. Well, they did a good job.
And again, I don't know that, you know, I mean,
not unreasonable.
right, it's not unreasonable, and somebody who's, you know, building a house, if they've decided Templeton is where they want it, they're not gonna not do it because of the fee. But somebody doing, you know, a renovation or a deck or something might, but, I don't know.
As a general rule, most people who don't get permits don't do it because they don't wanna pay the fee, they just don't wanna come in and get the permit.
Okay, I can entertain a motion at this point. else have any questions? John, any questions concerning the fee increases for building, wiring?
I mean, how would you like the, I mean, you have to have a motion for each separate one, or
I would
how do you wanna, I mean, we
respectfully
have like 5
suggest
sheets.
that you could approve the changes to the building permit fee structure as illustrated on pages 317, 318, 319, and 320 of the FY 2018 budget package, and we'll put it together so that it can be signed as we have the previous ones, like when we did the ambulance fees for you.
So moved.
One second.
Second.
Any discussion concerning the fee raise? Yes,
Does this have to go before town meeting, or is it just your board?
just this board. Any other questions? John?
Yes.
Julie?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. IMA with Narragansett Templeton Center School Elementary School.
Did that not make it into the packet?
What's the,
The IMA agreement?
it did make it in the packet. Or did I miss it?
I don't see any, nothing.
What does IMA mean?
What is an IMA?
Intermunicipal agreement.
No, I never saw that.
Yeah. Well, this is, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, for, it didn't make it into the packet. I will get this emailed out tonight. And in simplest terms, you executed a intermunicipal agreement with the school district for the feasibility and the design
Right.
phase, but you didn't for the construction
Right.
phase. And we need that in place in order to place the bond offering. The reason that you need this type of agreement is because although it's your school building, the MSBA will only, by statute, send the money to the school district. So
Understood.
you need this agreement, so we're gonna have to get that out to you
Okay.
tonight.
Was that already reviewed by the school committee?
It has been there to act on it Wednesday evening.
And they acted favorably, I would assume?
They haven't had their meeting yet.
Oh, it's this
but-
Wednesday coming up?
Yes, it's
Okay,
this Wednesday.
okay.
coming up.
So do they need us to go through it before they do, or can it go before them then to us?
We need to get it done by both parties by Wednesday night, so,
Okay, so can we get that tonight so we can maybe look at it tomorrow?
yes, absolutely.
Is that
Does
okay
that have
with
to go
everybody?
before legal counsel?
It has gone to bond
It's
counsel.
already gone, right?
It's gone to bond council. Okay, so we're gonna move that till tomorrow night?
Yes.
All right. Okay, we're gonna jump to the Otter River Sportsman's Club, one-day licenses, which is a few days and some few dates. They do a great job with these one-day.
Mr. Chairman, I'm gonna recuse myself from this.
Understood, thank you, Mr. Columbus.
I make a motion to approve the for-profit one-day liquor licenses for the Otter River Sportsman's Club on the dates of the following: Saturday, June 3rd, 4 p.m. to midnight, Saturday, June 17th, 12 p.m. to midnight, Thursday, July 20th, 12 p.m. to 5 p.m., Saturday, August 19th, 2017, from 12 p.m. to 8 p.m., Saturday, September 23rd, wow, I can't read, noon to 12, meaning at midnight. Saturday, October 7th, 12 o'clock noon to 12 o'clock midnight. Sunday, October 15th, 3 p.m. to midnight. Thursday, June 15th, from 3 PM to 9 PM, Saturday, June 24th, from 5 PM to midnight, Saturday, August 12th, 12 to 12, Sunday, August 20th, 4 to midnight, Saturday, September 30th, noon to midnight, and Saturday, October 14th, from 3 PM to midnight. The total fee being $650. That's for,
motion.
sorry.
Do I have a second?
Second.
It's a tie, so Doug, you seconded.
There's no fee listed on here.
Those are,
Is there a fee for them?
no, those are the,
Oh, all right, those are the, okay.
Okay, motion second, any other discussion concerning the numerous dates of the Auto River Sportsman's Club one-day licensing? I see none. Julie?
yes.
Diane?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well.
Make a motion to approve the non-profit one-day liquor licenses for the Auto River Sportsman's Club on the following dates. Saturday, May 6th, from 4 to 12 midnight. Wednesday, July 19th, from noon to 5. Sunday, July 23rd, from noon to 9. Sunday, September 3rd, from noon to 8. Sunday, September 17th, from noon to 6. Monday, June 12th, from 4 to 8. Saturday, July 22nd, from noon to 9. Sunday, August 6th, from noon to 8. And Saturday, September 9th, from noon to 6. That's the end of my motion.
Okay, I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion second by Julie. Any other
Yes.
discussion? See none. Julie?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
I vote yes as well.
I make a motion to approve the one-day outdoor live entertainment licenses for Auto River Sportsman's Club on the following dates: June 3rd, from 4 to 12 midnight, Saturday, June 24th, from 5 to 12, Saturday, August 12th, from 12 to 12, Sunday, August 20th, from 4 to 12, Saturday, September 23rd, from noon to 12, Saturday, October 7th, from noon to 12, Sunday, October 15th, from 3 to midnight. Sorry, those were all midnight. Saturday, June 17th, from noon to midnight. Sunday, August 6th, from noon to 8. Saturday, August 19th, from noon to 8. Sunday, September 3rd, from noon to 8. Saturday, September 30th, from noon to midnight. And Saturday, October 14th, from 3 to midnight.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Doug. Any other discussion? I see none. Julie?
Yes.
Diane?
Yeah.
Doug?
Yep.
And I vote yes as well. And if everybody did hear those dates, apparently Auto River Sportsman's Club's gonna be the place to be.
Always is.
So please enjoy the Auto River Sportsman's Club. What's that?
Party time.
That's right, that's
John
right.
can come back.
John, you can come back. Thank you.
This sounds like- this is
Are we
sad.
doing H? We have-
I have nothing for you on H. I thought I might, but I do
Thank you
not.
so much. We're gonna pass over that issue. Board and staff comments at this point? You guys have anything?
Yeah, just that tomorrow is open to the public to go over the audit. And I encourage people to attend and ask questions.
Doug, you have anything?
Don't know.
Julie? Mr. Columbus?
Well, this is my last meeting.
Yes, it is.
Regularly scheduled.
Yeah, you're gonna be missed.
And I want to thank everybody on the board and the staff here for your time and effort. I particularly want to thank the financial management people who have made amazing strides in cleaning up the catastrophe of 2013 and 2014. I think that in the 3 years I've been here, we've seen some tremendous progress. I hope it continues. I have some serious concerns that people maybe don't understand their responsibilities in regard to financial management, and you can't just say, no, we can't afford it, and not do something. You have issues that are not gonna go away, and the longer you wait to deal with them, the more they're gonna cost and the harder it's gonna be. And it's just gonna put the town into deeper financial straits. So as we look at resources becoming available, although I think savings and stabilization is important. It's only one measure of what we have to look at. We look at, the thing that really, I think, illustrates that is the cemetery master plan that Alan proposed. It was $40,000 when it was proposed, and we didn't do it. And now it's gonna be $60,000.
65.
65. So if we keep putting that off, pretty soon it's gonna be 80 or 90. And then what? People are gonna say, oh, we can't afford it, until the situation keeps getting worse and worse. So I think it's time that we, although I'm not gonna be here, I hope we really take a hard look at continuing the work we've done in the financial management area and hopefully keep things getting better.
Great. Thank you, John, for your time, and I'm sure the town thanks you for your efforts as well.
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Do we have, is Mr. Eaton here yet?
Yeah, he was here, I saw him.
Does he need to get set up? Is he doing a
No, he's actually
PowerPoint?
bringing the printouts, he said.
Okay.
As we wait for Mr. Eaton to come in, so please bear with me.
Licenses.
It was a beautiful day though today, wasn't it?
It was.
Very sunny.
Did you drink a lot of water today,
I
Mr. Chairman?
I did drink a lot of water, thank you for asking. I did, yeah. I will hydrate myself. I'm sure you drank a lot of water today as well, Alan.
We did.
Lady, over Joe. Bravo.
Made sure I locked up my personal money in a 4-4 bank.
Brittany came home and crashed. I'm like, yeah.
I can start for you.
Mr. Eaton, thank you for coming.
No problem.
I appreciate it.
Sorry I'm a couple of minutes late or an hour late, depending on your perspective.
That's okay, we'll take that up with you later.
I'm sure you will. Can you do me a favor, just make sure there should be 20 to 25 minutes, so this should be enough for everybody. I'm gonna bring in the map too. Which seat is wired that I have to sit in?
Yeah, exactly.
Right there? Is
Yeah,
that okay?
that's fine,
Okay.
thank you.
So what I think sure is all we were really planning to put together. You're welcome. Since we decided, since we didn't have a form for the original presentation, that we would vote on the supplementation.
Pick trees had to be cut down.
Cut them myself.
I think it's one of the templates, there's one for attached to the supplemental bills and stuff.
I did kill a few trees, I apologize.
Yeah, my tree got cut down, I feel angry about that.
I feel bad about that, I really do.
That was called progress.
So how'd your
I know, but the thing of it
Everything
is,
was
why
good.
we're all.
That's it.
Sent her back on her merry way to Germany on Saturday night. They had a good time, though. Tina loved it, and her boyfriend.
Nobody had real plans to go.
You all set?
Nobody listens to that.
They went to Boston one day on the train. They came almost.
All right, here we go, Mr. Eaton, let's,
Sure.
how are we doing? Good evening.
Sure, good evening all. Thank you. Sorry again, I'm tardy. I had a work-related meeting in Wichita.
No, I appreciate you coming in to give a little oversight.
No problem. So, Steve Castle, John Kaplis, and I, and Richardson, Florida, Kirk. So you have an Economic Development Committee, you appointed us about 2 years ago. We've been working diligently, especially the last 12 to 18 months, on a variety of economic development-related issues. This started out as a 20-page presentation at most. I always tell my staff at the Regional Planning Agency, there's a 20-8-8-8 rule. No more than 20 slides, no more than 8 bullets, no more than 8 lines per slide, and no more than 8 minutes. I busted all the rules, I apologize, in this handout, and I did kill a small forest in these printouts. I'm not gonna read everything to you tonight, but I will hit the highlights.
Okay.
We wanted to know about the 3 warrant articles.
Yes.
So, just for background and for perspective, I brought in the zoning map, just so everybody can be oriented. So what the Economic Development Committee is trying to accomplish, a variety of things, but we're trying to put Templeton on the map, no pun intended, with the private sector community, whether it's developers or job creators, that would come into our industrial zones, in our commercial zones primarily, but we're not dismissing any other zones such as the village district zones. For the purposes of tonight's presentation, we'd be concentrating primarily on these light red, or I'm a guy, so maybe that's magenta, I'm not sure, but it's the dark red zones are the village districts. These purplish or magenta zones are industrial or commercial industrial zones. The yellow are called highway business zones. And if you see something in green or aqua, that's basically the residential district. So we're staying in the magenta and the yellow primarily for the purpose of these warrant articles. Purpose of the warrant articles is to provide Templeton with some, I'm just gonna use the tired phrase, economic development tools in our toolbox so that we can facilitate business retention, business growth, job creation, job retention, also tax generation. I'm gonna hit each slide quickly. Page of slide 2 is the table of contents of all the stuff that's in here. I wanna talk about I think it's the 6th bullet down, and there's a bunch of stuff there in red. It summarizes the proposed warrant articles. You'll see that we're proposing tax agreements, capacity to stimulate business growth and jobs, which is Mass General Law, adopting Mass General Law 23A, which is later on slide 33. Establishing a streamlining permitting system, which is under State General Law 43D, and then establishing an EDIC, which is Economic Development and Industrial Corporation, which is a non-politicized tool of municipal government to facilitate real estate development where you foster business growth and job creation and retention. I put in red because I wanted to make the point very, very clear that these warrant articles are not asking about, they're not related to asking for any money in FY18. It's setting up, literally adopting state statutes so we can have the capacity to entice companies into the community. That's the main purpose. Page 3 is a businessdictionary.com definition of economic development. There are hundreds of definitions of ED, they're all out there. I liked this one. This is pretty much what the Economic Development Committee is pretty much working within. Also, page 4, some of the stuff that we're working on, there are 4 bullets. We're trying to promote Templeton as a business-friendly community. You define business friendliness as really, you have zoning in place now. We've had this, it was amended in 10, but we adopted it in the 7, 8, 9 window. So we've had it now for 7 to 9 years, depending upon your perspective. But that's what we have. We have some municipal water, some municipal sewer in some good locations, but not on sites that are suitable for development. We have a fiber optic band that connects Baldenville and Templeton villages, goes down 2A and goes up Baldenville Road. Fiber optic is imperative for economic development these days. But the business friendliness is, what are you telling the private sector? How are you communicating? What are you taking for your policies, your actions? What are you doing to say, please come on down to our community? So these warrant articles are basically trying to help work in the business-friendly arena. The next page is just the title slide. I won't go over all the details. I will say that these pages 6 through a few others, where you see these tables, these represent the recommendations within the town's master plan that was adopted by the planning board in this room in March, last month, just about 4 weeks ago, give or take.
Yep.
These recommendations in here are contained at the back of the Economic Development chapter. The ED committee works within these. We take these as marching orders to work on for the community to try to increase jobs, income, wealth, and tax generation. If you see on page 6, you'll notice some blue text in the first column, maintain an economic development entity. It's a recommendation to the master plan. if it's in blue, it ties to a warrant article. If you see over in red, we're working on that. If you look on page 7, talks about brownfields. We're not working on that right now. I'll skip ahead, page 8, the final column on the right, ED committee working on developing marketing literature for the town's website. Steve Castle's helping us do that. Page 9.
So you're developing a website?
Yeah, we're gonna develop some content, so I have some content that is very rough, but we're gonna use the brilliant journalist and media background of Steve to help us make it pretty, hang it, and say, here we are.
Okay.
But that's another part of being business friendly, we wanna be reaching out.
Start on the town website, hopefully,
And that's a technical issue, so wherever you folks think it's gonna
if
go.
we can.
Okay.
Thank you. Page 9, work to facilitate an existing permitting, facilitate its existing permitting process. So that speaks to one of the warrant articles. We're recommending that the town adopt at town meeting something called streamlining permitting or expedited permitting process. I think it's statute 43D, chapter 43D. It's over on the red on the right-hand side on slide 9, so we're working on that. Page 10 is something we're working on, infrastructure improvements. When you want to facilitate economic development, and I'm gonna point because the map is very, very helpful. Templeton has excellent highway access, but we're not at 495 or 95, so we're distant from those areas, but we're not in the Berkshires. This area at the center, the heart of the community, really around exit 20 off of Baldwinville Road, you have really 4 quadrants around exit 20. What we have on Baldwin Road, we have municipal water, we have municipal sewer. There's a fiber band, there's a fiber connection that goes down 2A from Western Mass to Air and then to Boston. Goes down 2A, and then Templeton Village and Baldwinville Village are connected with the fiber. There's a colleague of mine who teaches planning at UMass Amherst, and he says, be wired or be gone. Those 4 words are very, very important. Companies need high-speed infrastructure, high-speed broadband these days. So it's great that it's in the street, but the reality is that you need to pull it from the Baldwin Road, from the street onto these lands, and you have to facilitate the construction somehow. You need to work with the private sector, the private landowners, and get grants and put it all together. That's another piece of what we're trying to facilitate as well.
Right.
That becomes another tool in the toolbox. It becomes another piece of being business friendly. We're willing to work with the private sector to facilitate that. Page 11, nothing in red or black there. Talks about design guidelines, performance standards being regulated. We get to address that. Page 12 is something that we are working on, coordinating development activity with owners of industrial land. So we've reached out through a couple of realtors, and we've asked some private landowners to start talking to us. And we want to get on their radar screen because really that's the jewel. Exit 20 is really the jewel in the crown of the area. Not that exit 19 and exit 20 are any less important, but if we want to facilitate industrial development on a larger scale, that's where we'd be looking, but the others are in play. Page 13 is recommendation 8 of 9. We're not working on that, but it's the responsible entity of the planning board, so if they want us to help, we're happy to. The last recommendation on page 14, support local businesses. That gets back to some of our marketing that we're trying to do. We want to be supportive of the existing business community. You want to retain your jobs first. You want to let the business community know that's here, that they're important, and then you try to expand and draw others in. Steve and John had a good idea to, in the next few slides, talking about some other communities close by that are using these tools. Mostly the next few slides concentrate utilizing EDICs and redevelopment authorities and some other ED tools that guide, develop, manage economic development, building of industrial parks, redevelopment of large former manufacturing complexes in a non-political atmosphere. And that basically means using an EDIC or a redevelopment authority to do so. So page 16, pages 16 and 17, I'll hit a couple of highlights. Basically, page 16 documents a conversation I had with Jim Mann. He's the chair of the EDIC in Athol. They created an EDIC, I don't remember when. It's at least 10 years ago, maybe 15 or more. So they have that entity that we're looking to promote adopting here in the town of Templeton. What it has worked on, I think, we've all seen the paper, and a lot of us probably go to Market Basket. I know I do. But there are a lot of stores down there off of Exit 18, Templeton Road in Athol right now. And the EDIC is there. So they created, Athol, created an entity. That entity, the second bullet on page 17, the chair of that entity, I think they spent $149 to be a part of the, I'm gonna screw up the name, Grocery Market Retailers Association. They used that opportunity and membership to connect with ultimately Artie Demula. And 4 to 5 years later, now they have a development site that's been established, and it continues to grow. I put some information there. There's an update in the middle about, businesses that are there if you're interested. 155 jobs, target is 600 jobs eventually. When I mentioned earlier that a part of economic development, it's the jobs, it's the retention, it's the expansion, the job creation, but it's also about generating tax revenue. I checked the FY16 assessed value of the parcel in Athol. It's valued at almost $13 million, and they're bringing in about $250,000, or they're paying about $250,000 to the town. The next couple slides, 18 and 19, just give you some visuals about what the site looks like. Page 20 talks about the town of Orange. The town of Orange used an EDIC to create the Randall Pond Industrial Park. I don't think the EDIC was around in the 70s or 80s when they created the Orange Air Park on page 21, but I believe that was an old entity, AOIDDC. Page 20, another example in Fitchburg. Pages 22 and 23 talk a little bit about Fitchburg. I'll summarize both of those pages by basically saying that the Fitchburg Redevelopment Authority created a couple of industrial parks, the Summit Industrial Park, the Montechusett Industrial Park. They're now the owner and operator and redeveloper of Putnam Place, which is the former GE facility on Boulder Drive in downtown Fitchburg. The 231 Park generates about just a little under $374,000 in revenue every year, equivalent to 106 homes and an average tax bill of about $3,535. Just some visuals on page 24. Jumping to Gardner. So Gardner has a redevelopment authority. Redevelopment authorities and EDICs, comparable in terms of their function. They're a little different structure, have a little different structure as far as the appointing authorities and how people are appointed to the boards of directors, essentially, of each entity. The bottom line is that in EDIC, in a town, the Board of Selectmen appoints the members of the board. In a town, the redevelopment authority board, the people are elected, subject to the electorate. We've spent a lot of meetings talking about the pros and cons of EDIC, and we felt to have management oversight that should the town create an EDIC, the Board of Selectmen should appoint its board of directors. I'll come back to that in just a minute to talk about the entities and how they relate to one another. The page 26 are just some aerials of a couple parks in Gardner. And I will say, okay, a couple more slides here. 27 and 28. You can see I sprinkled in slides about how these entities work. There's a common theme. Basically, whether it's a redevelopment authority or an EDIC, you have this depoliticized real estate development department, if you will, or entity. It's not a department, it's a separate entity. In this case, if we do EDIC, the Board of Selectmen appoints the Board of Directors. In each case, in each community that I've given you examples, and you can look at the examples later about, I think I know that in Athol right now, there are some funds in the general fund for the EDIC, but in Winchendon, Gardner, Fitchburg, there are no funds in the town side of the budget that flow to these entities. Basically, what many towns have done, these entities have been around for 20, 30, 40 years, generally, that the town had in the past, in some of these communities, provided some seed money to get them going. Now, if you looked at on page 27, so the redevelopment authority's been around, I want to say at least since the 70s. It's up to the point it's done development, it's bought land, sold land, made money. Now it pays this $50,000 amount every year to the city of Gardner, and the city of Gardner supplies some staff support to the entity. So every town does things a little bit differently. I want to reiterate that red text in the very beginning. We're not looking for money, we're looking to create some of the administrative infrastructure to get going. I'm going to wind down and then open for questions, which I'd love to answer. Page 30 talks about comparing community capabilities. I guess in my day job, this is where I live a lot. We look at communities, we're always asked at the planning commission to provide technical assistance and guidance on. I remember specifically a conversation with a member of a Board of Selectmen member in the town of Hubbardston 10 or 15 years ago, and he said, we need biotechnology in Hubbardston. I said, well, I wish you well. Biotechnology and pharmaceutical development and manufacturing eats water. Like a plastics company eats a lot of electricity to give up, print out those little plastic devices. The biopharma industry eats a lot of water, so you have to have water. Hubbardston has no municipal water. Well, that's a challenge. If you don't have municipal water, then that's probably not the type of industry you want to go after. But he had chutzpah, and I wished him well. If you look at the columns here, we have Athol, Orange, Templeton, and Winchendon. We have a couple of gaps in Templeton. We don't have an entity, EDIC or redevelopment. We don't have a streamlining permitting process in place. I have to credit Luann, even though we're proposing that we should have a tax agreement negotiation process. It's called the Economic Development Incentive Program, which is detailed a lot later in this presentation. Luann, thank you. It was a great chance meeting in the hallway, but the town did do at least one TIF.
Yeah.
Is that the only one that's
That's the only one since 2008, but it's pretty much gone out.
Oh, no, okay. So it's not like you don't have any experience, but to adopt it system-wide, to have the system in place, and I'd want to talk to Luann more about what happened in '08 and what we'd have to do now. And you put that on the website, and you let the private sector know that you have these tools in place. That's when we're talking about trying to entice those businesses to the town. So you want to fill in these blanks on page 30. That's the advice of the Economic Development Committee. The next slide is just kind of a repeat of the beginning, where we're saying there's no money involved. So, the heart of the matter for the warrant articles, page 32 just summarizes them, gives you the statutory references. Page 33 talks a little bit more about some of the benefits. Why would you set up an ability under the Economic Development Incentive Program to do TIFs, which are typically known tax increment financing deals, special assessments or SAs, and then development incentive financing, or EDIF, which there was a different acronym because TIF and DIF are very similar. Incidentally, the DIF was used by Athol to fund, to pay for a bond that funded the water extension infrastructure and the water tank that you see at Athol.
Right, that went up.
So, but for the DIF, and then what happens, I'm oversimplifying the process, but basically the town says, okay, we'll provide a tax agreement and we'll enter into that with the developer of that property. They'll generate tax revenue, we'll take a portion of that tax revenue, pay off the bond that pays for the pipes in the tank. That's basically how it works. I'm oversimplifying it, but that's basically how it works. It was reported recently, and I can't remember if it was the town manager or Jim Meehan at the EDIC, and so I don't want to misquote the party, but it was reported in Athol a week or two ago that there's sufficient tax generation from that property now, where Market Basket is, that they have more than enough to make the bond payments every year. Now they're generating excess cash. That's now going into the general fund. And I just wanted to make that point crystal clear, is you have this administrative infrastructure in place in Athol, and they used it as a tool to facilitate development, to pay for an infrastructure project that created jobs and businesses. And a 9-screen cinema, which is coming soon, which I think is cool for the region. So that's a nice thing. But the benefits to the town of Templeton is basically to have that administrative infrastructure in place, increase our ability to attract the new and expanding businesses. Competitive advantage, the third bullet on page 33. When you look at that table that I talked about just a few slides ago, we're at a competitive disadvantage because we can't offer the things that other communities do. And while a lot of the communities I talked about have staff, or they have dedicated volunteers, or a mix of, and we have volunteers on the ED committee, and you're all volunteers, we don't have a town planner, we don't have an economic development person, you can still adopt some of these administrative tools, these ED tools, to be set up. God bless you. To say to the business community, we're here, we're ready for you to develop and expand in our community, so let's go. 34 just summarizes a little bit of be streamlining permitting. It would enable us to build on the physical infrastructure we have, the fiber, the municipal water, the municipal sewer, the road access to Route 2, and the workforce asset, which we have a good workforce in Templeton, where I think we're higher than the state national averages for people with associate's degrees. So that's a good thing, and you want to play that up. So not all of this is about adopting warrant articles for this administrative economic development infrastructure and tools, but the workforce is there, and you want to play that up as well. A lot of people, I mentioned Devon's here, a lot of people on page 34, a lot of people talk about Devon's. And the reality is that, back to the day job, I'm sorry I keep going back there, but we did a report on Devon's that was due last June 30th for the state. And basically, Devon's has been set up by the Act of Chapter 498, and it has the backing of Mass Development. Mass Development has about a payroll of 100, I think it's 200 people. They're managing the entity at Devon's as a town. They also have a real estate development arm, and we don't have that, and we know that. So I'm gonna say publicly and privately, let's not try to compete with Devon's. But the reality is that when you think about in terms of things about having a competitive advantage, you certainly want to be able to compete with the Winchendons, Athals, and the people around you for the business growth. That's very, very important. The page 35 just summarized the benefit of having an EDIC, creating an entity with sole purpose, focus on marketing, communicating with private sector, with the objective of filling industrial commercial areas, job opportunities, and taxes as well. The rest of this document, pages 36 through 69 or 70, are literally just copy and pastes out of, I extracted pieces of each state statute. I can stop here, or I can continue to bore you all. So whatever you'd like me to do, I do want to, I guess I would close or pause by saying, it's very important that the EDIC, again, appointed by the Board of Selectmen, operates out here, has its own accounts, its own books. In some communities, it's using the same auditor. When you're audited by your auditor for the town, I think it's Gardner, and at least another community, I think Athol, they use the same auditor. Some of them don't, some of them use different auditors. So you have this separate entity, but it's related to the municipality of Templeton. But that's its purpose. Its purpose is to be a real estate arm, be a real estate development team, and go operate and get the job done, within strict adherence to the state statute. The state statute is very clear. It's like a job description. It's a guidebook. Don't veer from the state statute. It's there, and you follow it. By talking to these 4 or 5 communities, these people over the last few business days, they're all adhering. They're making reports to the Board of Selectmen, or mayor or city council. They have their books audited. They operate off their own receipts. I just left the town of Winchendon talking to Tracy Murphy over there. That supports the Winchendon Redevelopment Authority, and they're gearing up for some more development and redevelopment of sites. So they're tools. I'd love to pause there because
Thank you.
I can talk about economic development for hours, but you need to shut me up.
Yes.
Okay, so thank you for listening, and I apologize if I went too long. I know you always have a busy night.
No, I appreciate your presentation, I really do. Working well with you. I'm sure that you guys have any questions for Mr. Eaton, I'm sure you do.
Yeah, so how much, if you're gonna use an auditor how much seed money would have to be needed to start it? I mean, if you're not gonna have any cash receipts, you have to start with something.
So right now, we don't need any. We need to have a presence. We need to say, we have the tools in place to do the job. You've already done the TIF in '08. You have volunteers and you have dedicated people on this committee to work on these things, just as you are. No one's getting any pay around these tables. There may come a day that some seed money is needed. I don't know when that is. I really don't, but we don't need an FY18. I don't know if you need it in 19 or 20, but what we're doing right now doesn't require
If you create a
that.
corporation, then you have to file tax returns.
We have no money. The entity wouldn't have any money.
But don't you have to file with the Secretary of the State
Probably.
every year?
Probably, and that's a world we have to get some legal counsel, some tax counsel, and figure that out. So, I'm not sure yet, and I don't wanna pretend I know, because I'm not sure. But I can get an answer and get back to you folks.
How long, let's just assume that we, start an EDIC, and how long did it take Athol how long have their EDIC been in, I don't know what word I'm looking for,
In
until,
place?
like, they started it or started doing stuff, and then, to, do the mall or some other things that they were working on? Are we talking
So I
a
believe-
year? Are we talking many?
The EDIC was created in Athol about 15 years ago, and I can get a real date if you want
Okay.
that. And it took them about 10 years to get to the point where they started marketing themselves to the grocery store sector, the retail sector. And since that started about 5 years ago, now they have the development.
Did they do anything else aside from, that? Like, did they do smaller projects or?
Not yet, but they're about to.
Okay.
That's a great question, and it's in here somewhere. I think when
Okay.
the Jim Meehan interview, but there's just one bullet. And it basically says there's development that these entities can do, and then there's redevelopment. So just recently, the town manager and the EDIC have agreed that because Athol now has a new, I hope I don't mess this up, a new elementary school and a new middle school.
Yeah.
They have 4 vacant elementary schools. 3 of those are planned between the manager and the EDIC to be transferred to the EDIC for redevelopment purposes. Yeah, so those are gonna be some new projects for them, smaller scale.
Which also has infrastructure already there, water, sewer, fiber, and everything
Right.
else.
Right. Exactly. And who knows what the uses would be.
Right.
My gut is there would probably be housing. Not sure, because where they're situated in neighborhoods, you look at the land use around you, and that probably makes sense, but they can figure that out.
I do know the EDIC did have a play in the school on School Street that is now I think it's a elderly assisted living facility. They did have a play in that, because again, that was an old school that was given
Yeah.
to the EDIC, I think it was about 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And they developed that into a assisted living facility.
So Jim connected with the ultimate developer of that site, so he was marketing the community.
And it turned out great, by the way, it looks
It
fantastic.
is, it's a great facility, and if they're not at full occupancy, I think they're darn close. But it's a good reuse of an old school building.
So I've got a couple of questions. So this EDIC is a basic standalone corporation. Their only real identity with the town is that the select board appoints their board of directors. Otherwise, they're an independent entity. So they have then the full authority to negotiate these TIFs and diffs.
So on TIFs and diffs and special assessments, they work with the municipal officials. Quite frankly, on those issues, the EDIC would take pretty much a back seat. You would typically, in a municipality, you typically have a working staff committee. Generally speaking, your assessor's office is gonna be involved, your town administrator is involved, a few other 9 to 5 players on the municipal governance side. The EDIC is really a promoter of the economic development. So, the EDIC should really, if you had a municipal committee or a board to do these deals, even if an EDIC member was on that board, they should be ex officio non-voting, because their interest is to do anything to make the deal and get jobs in the town. So it's really, that's the role of really the municipal government. The EDIC's role would really be, the promoting, the marketing, doing the deals, if you will, to borrow your phrase, Doug, with the private sector. An EDIC, although separate but related to the municipal entity, is a public body corporate. It is a separate. However, it follows state procurement, public meeting law, open meeting law, public records law. So it's still a public entity, and it follows the strict adherence to the EDIC enabling statute 121C. Hopefully I answered your question.
Okay, yep, that does. The streamlined permitting, I have concern with that too. To me, that seems like it introduces risk for being overly used, or, again, is that part of the negotiation that the EDIC would use, or how can it be used, when can it be used, and who
Yeah.
says it can be used?
So here's how it works. So what a municipality does, again, I'm gonna use my answer about the EDIC taking a back seat. If there's a member on this, what's called a super permitting board, or an interagency, well, not the interagency, but the super permitting board for the town, it would be, again, ex officio non-voting member. The municipal government takes the role, takes the lead, and is the streamlined permitting receiver of the permit and approval authority. Basically, a local permitting authority that's created has the building inspector on it, a health agent on it, a member of the planning board, a member of Concom, a member of the health board, where their staff are supporting them. So you have this cross-section of the municipal government that's in charge. You have to do a permit when you adopt the statute for projects of 50,000 square feet or over, I believe. So it's not everything that comes into the town, to the building department for a permit. So it's certain properties that have thresholds that they have to meet for square footage. From the date of submittal of a complete, this is very important in the state statute, a complete application to probably the town clerk, then the permitting board will look at the application. They can take up to 180 days unless there's an extension granted and agreed to between this permitting entity, municipal permitting entity, not the EDIC, with the developer, the proponent of the land development. So the EDAC on both of those issues isn't involved. They don't have authority. It's the municipality that's in charge.
Okay, so you keep referring to this permitting board, so is
Yes.
this now an additional town
It's not a separate entity.
board or anything? I mean,
it's
or it's
basically
not
the-
the planning board?
It's basically the people who do permitting already separately, together. That's the difference. That's really the only difference. Typically in Massachusetts, it can take 2 years or more for a residential subdivision, commercial or industrial, to go through the pinball machine effect, I call it, of going to Concom separately from Health Board if you need septics, to the planning board, to get permits separately. So a developer will be here one night, with a planning board, and then 2 weeks later with a Concom and so forth. And that's how we do it in Massachusetts, until the state created the streamlined permitting statute, which allows towns to opt in if they want to do permitting within a certain set of time, that 180 days versus 2 years. So that's a good thing for everybody if you want to facilitate economic development. But again, it's not a separate entity, it's people working together on these issues, but working more closely together. For example, you've clustered your land permitting offices, they're working together.
Yeah.
It's about pulling the boards together, but one representative of each board to having a meeting on that project. So let's say someone wanted to build, $50,000 to $250,000, $50,000 to $250,000 square feet at the exit 20 or the exit 19 area. The town could say, we're not gonna do streamlining permitting, but what that sends a signal to the private sector community is that, okay, we're in the 2-year plan process. We're one of those towns. If you adopt streamlining permitting, you're sending a signal back to this tool in the toolbox that says we can do this in 180 days because we want development, we want taxes, we want jobs. But you drive it. So that's a municipal function. Also, the key of streamlining permitting, Doug, really, it's 2 things. It's doing the review of a permit within a 180-day time span, but the Devon's statute says that they'll do permits within 75 days. They really do them in 45 to 60. But they really don't, because what they do is they do pre-permitting. They have conversations with a land developer or a business who's interested in buying a property for up to a year before the formal permit is placed in the public domain with a town clerk, if you will. Within the streamlining permitting statute, there's an option to create a technical review committee that I believe it's the Board of Selectmen that appoints that. We're talking about the same people, a building inspector, health agent, planning board member, so on and so forth, to work in the day job to say, okay, developers, show us your plans during the day, let's talk about this over lunch, or whatever. And before you go to formally submitting a permit under streamlining permitting statute that we adopted, let's say we did, before you start running the clock and have that clock ticking, talk to us. What do you want to do? We'll tell you right up front. This works, this doesn't. You have a real problem putting an intersection on that road. You have a safety concern. You have to address that. Don't let the 180-day time clock start ticking when you haven't addressed that, because if you don't address that in your proposal, I'm just gonna have you address it later. So get those, it allows the opportunity for it's communication. It's just one word. For the private sector and public sector to say, this is an interesting blueprint. It should be better, and it's gotta meet our subdivision rules and regs this way. But it's the pre-permitting conversation. That's the beauty of the streamlining permitting statute.
It's kind of like if we had, the stuff that we went through with the school, like all those extra meetings and stuff, if we had a streamlined process, we wouldn't have been going to this board, then to this board, then to this board, you know what I mean? But again, it's a good idea.
Yep, it is a good idea.
So who has the conversations with the landowners around where you might want to, where someone might want to come in and do something?
So you see real estate signs going up on Baldwinville Road. One's at a building, it's a concrete block building.
Yes,
Others in-
252 Baldwinville Road.
252, I always forget the
Old
address.
sheep farm.
Okay, thank you. Okay, well, there's a sign next to the Fusel Farm? If I said
Old
that
sheep,
right?
yep.
Okay,
Right
there's a
after
sign
this.
next to that that's inappropriately placed. So that sign, somebody's gonna push it up here, and then that realtor's gonna get a red sign of it. So there are a lot of signs being planted up there. There's a lot of interest in selling these properties for commercial industrial development purposes. Who talks to them? That's the role of the EDIC. It's a matter of, this is the entity that markets and says, hey, there's a realtor that's got his phone number on it, it's Stubblebine, or it's Peter Haley or something.
Mhm.
And we pick up the phone and we call, and we say, what do you wanna do? What's the price? Now, that opens up, a whole can of, well, then how do you go from, well, it's trees, it's an old farm, how do you get it to a development site with concrete buildings and jobs inside and machinery humming? There are many methods, and different towns and the cities have done it differently. There's seed money, you can get seed money from the town to the EDIC to buy land, that's a way to do it. In Athol, the town of Athol deeded land that it owned off of Templeton Road to the EDIC and said, okay, there's your equity, there's your property, start on that. So it was a mutual agreement between the municipal government and the EDIC to say, let's do this is important, this is about jobs and taxes and so on and so forth. So let's work together. Mass Development, the quasi-state economic development entity, offers a service to communities that are, shall we say, not as cash-rich as we are. And they'll deliver a service, and they'll say, well, we can help you develop that land, would you like our services? We'll take the fees out of the land sales. So there are many ways to get from here to there, but the EDIC would have a conversation with the landowners, the realtors, the mass developments of the world. And it's public meeting, so this is open meeting law, right? Until you get to negotiate a deal, then you're in the executive session rule for negotiation. But it's pretty, there aren't gonna be that very many of those types of meetings. But they happen, because you have to negotiate the nitty gritty, and then you have your minutes published later on.
I think it's a matter of, too, is a lot of our commercial zones are, there are neighbors right next door.
Mhm.
Look at where we should have had them all, and that was just a big fight. So it wasn't, how do you, I feel like there's not always enough conversation with, the people around them to say, oh, we might want to do this, we might want to do that. You're not going to make everybody happy, but nobody needs a lawsuit either to, the whole not in my backyard thing.
The-
So, how do
I'm
you
sorry.
stop that, from, instead of just, cramming
The
it
only way
down
you
somebody's
stop
throat, like, how do
NIMBYism,
you?
and the only way you stop NIMBYism and banana and people having legitimate concerns is not having human beings on the earth, first of all. So
Right.
we will always have a concern. The reality is that an EDIC working on behalf of the municipality and the private sector, you want to find sites that are relatively easy to permit and pretty straightforward. That's a valid point. You want to avoid those at all costs if you can. It's about having appropriate design guidelines for buildings, having dark sky compliant lighting, and all those things to mitigate those issues. Noise issues. There was a huge kerfuffle 6 or 8 years ago in Devon's where a company came in, and it was a previously established manufacturing building, and a company came in and they had some sort of machinery on the roof and within the building that provided a great deal of noise, and literally people in the abutting neighborhood in Harvard weren't sleeping for a year. You have to think about those things ahead of time. To the best of your ability, there's a zoning district, it's interesting, there's a zoning district in the town of Lancaster, and what they did was they zoned a buffer about 100 or 300 feet of a no-build zone, if you will. So let's say there was a buffer around, where you have residences on the periphery of these sites, but on the industrial land. It's like no build, to provide more of a cushion. So there are a lot of ways, or a lot of tools and techniques out there to try to avoid these things. Because you really don't want to have these if you can at all avoid it. Because the bottom line is businesses want to see the shortest amount of time possible, like in streamlining permitting, to get their capital invested, the building up and the machinery humming. So then they can then sell their widgets, push the widgets out the door. The municipality wants jobs and taxes. So we have different reasons, some altruistic, some the great American capitalist way. But you have to find that common ground. You have to mitigate neighbors' concerns, absolutely. I'm hearing your questions, and I have echoes of my mom, God rest her soul, Mom, asking these questions. You know, we used to have these debates when I was a lot younger. You know, Glenn, don't cut down the trees, vividly. And I said, well, Mom, some trees will stay, but if you want, you know, some other things, some trees have to go. But you don't wanna hurt the spotted turtle. You know, you wanna deal with the endangered species and so on. Virtually none of that land at exit 20 has endangered species. So you wanna look at those things ahead of time.
Right.
You wanna know what's going on, right? It's very important.
Well, we have a lot of wetland too.
You do. So
That's the problem of how many years did it take us to find a good school site, so how do you,
Sure.
you know?
There's a lot of wet in that land. I mean, generally speaking, and I haven't walked the land yet with the realtors. I hope to do that post-black fly season. But in this area, you know, I'd say, you know, I'm gonna oversimplify, so there's a camera on me or something, but, you know, about half of it's wet and half of it's developable. But the half is developable is about 80 or 120 acres. Well, that's a lot of 5 and 10 acre parcels for a lot of businesses. You can fit 7 businesses in there at 5 to 10 acre parcels on that northeastern quadrant. That's a lot of businesses and a lot of jobs.
It's a lot of growth,
It
a lot of
is.
new growth.
It is. But it's a great question.
I'm all for it. Please. I do real estate, bring it
Yeah.
on. But, you know,
I hear you.
there's just some, I mean, I think that it's definite food for thought, and you have to, you can't just go, yeah. I think that the public, you know, we need that here, because we need more revenue.
Right. But we don't ramrod it. We don't
Right.
run it through. It has to have proper vetting. But, you know, in Massachusetts, we have a lot of regulations in Massachusetts that protect everybody's interests.
Yeah,
Spotted salamander and people and everybody in between.
It took 5 years for Market Basket, once Athol made a deal. It took 5 years to
Yeah,
get that building
I
built.
recall.
Yeah, it takes time. You know, these
Yeah,
deals
This
are
isn't
not
like a
small.
one-year deal, this is, you know, projected out. Yes?
Yeah.
You speak about Route 2's proximity to Templeton. What gets me is when you first enter the town, it says entering Templeton, what do you see? A closed rest area. And when the state brought infrastructure to that area and partially developed it and then closed it, to me, that's a sign like, hey, you know, you're not welcome.
That doesn't help our visual image, does it?
No.
And when I was sitting on that side of the table in 1999, the state was deciding what to do with the north side of Templeton. And if you look on the MassDOT website, it says, you know, design still in process. Really? It's been 18 years. Come on, you're not doing anything. Let's get that resolved. Let's figure out, it's like, I don't think we're gonna have anything there. Well, close it. It's a great point.
Yes?
And that particular piece of property was taken by eminent domain from my grandparents.
Oh, was it?
Yes.
I didn't know that. I never knew the history. That's
Okay.
interesting.
Yeah, the cases.
That's interesting.
Anything else for Mr. Eaton?
It's just a total waste. I mean, the amount of land that just sits there with infrastructure installed, it just, to me, it's mind-boggling.
School.
I can't say it any better. It seems silly, doesn't it?
Not gonna disagree. Yes? Gary, yes?
I think there's a ton of information here.
Yes.
And there were a lot of good questions asked. I really think for the process to go forward, it would be helpful if we had a few public hearings and just dedicated to this issue and get people in
Yes.
and there's a lot of education that has to go on because there's a lot of things here that, you know, people don't know about.
Try to get it on a fall warrant.
And I appreciate your commitment to do that. That's great. So we'll hold public hearings through the spring, summer?
I think that would be a good idea, and I think that
This is over.
there will be acceptance
You lose people.
once people understand
Right.
what it is, but I think you're gonna have some initial pushback if people, you know, if the information isn't out there.
Right,
I
right.
mean, Doug's questions, I think, were particularly enlightening, about the role of the EDIC, and
Right.
those are the type of issues that people are gonna wanna know about.
Yes.
Right, because when you read the language, it appears that there's a lot more authority and control for the EDIC, and that it pretty much takes the municipality out of the project. So that's why, you know, I think reading the words and then hearing the explanation
Yeah.
are really two different things.
Yeah.
And I do think having, you know, like John said, some public hearings or a town hall meeting, where you can present the information in a, you know, more condensed format.
Oh, God, yes.
But,
Yes.
you know, so that,
Very well
so that the public can have those kinds of, you know, questions answered as well. I think would be, you know, extremely helpful. And
Happy to.
the tough part is how do you, you know, make sure the public knows when to come, you know? That's-
Well, we'll use every means possible, you know. and-
TV, but even if they're not there, you're, you know, it's specifically dedicated to that, so you can just tune in.
You know, I learned that Templeton was very good to itself when it finally became the 351st community in the state to adopt zoning. It was the last. And my colleague and I at the Regional Planning Agency wrote the zoning for town. Now feels like, well, it was about a decade ago, really. So, but what I advised my colleague at the time, John Hume, our one of my planning directors, is we can't just have a public hearing on this. The typical chapter 40A, you know, section 5A, 48, section 5, thou shall hold a planning board public hearing. So I said, let's take it to the Outer River Sportsman's Club. We had 50 people. And we just said, you know, could there's tuna fish sandwiches and Coke and coffee. And so we took it to the people. And that's what we would offer to do. It's because people don't generally, this is one of the best attended selectmen meetings, because I work in a lot of towns, that I've seen in the North County. This is great. But the reality is that, you know, people don't typically come out for a lot of night meetings. But maybe when you go to a sportsman's club and you can entice them with some food and cookies. That's what we did. And those votes for adopting zoning, to the town's credit, were all unanimous to virtually unanimous.
If we can get them on TV too, a lot of people will watch.
Right.
I think that was a message for you.
I know someone.
Nice. Bevel, you have something?
This is the easy part. The land is sitting there, the road's sitting there.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm looking forward to is dealing with that Temple Stewart and Baldwinville Products area. You've got the railroad, industry still uses the railroad.
Yes.
But it would have to take steps to get that whole thing cleaned up.
Yes.
And actually, we don't own it, but I think it's in tax title.
I'll defer to the local officials
So
on the status.
that's something that, would you guys be willing to do that too, or are you just gonna do the easy thing and then
So-
beat it down the road?
So easy doesn't cost money, hard costs money.
Yeah, I know,
The reality is that within
but
the
has Gardner's done stuff with?
yes, it has, and so has Fitchburg. You know, when Fitchburg redeveloped the GE plant, when it redeveloped that plant, it did it in cooperation with GE. GE and the city, mayor and the redevelopment authority, they negotiated before it was closed down. As soon as they announced, the mayor and the head of the redevelopment authority were in the office and they said, okay, we're gonna work out a deal here. And GE paid for the cleanup. It takes money and resources to clean up, as we all know.
Can't you get grants for that? I mean, there used to be grants, I don't know if
There are loan to grant
EPA
systems,
grants
there
or
are
something?
EPA, but here's the bottom line, the state statutes we're talking about, to create the EDIC, an EDIC can develop and redevelop property.
Yeah.
So right back to your question, can the EDIC address that? It would have the legal authority to do so,
Yeah.
but it would have no resources. I mean, and honestly, bluntly, I've been saying to my colleagues, the last thing we wanna take on is these dirty properties right now, because we just don't have the resources. You need a team of 3 working on that full-time for years, and we're talking about $250,000 budget just for staff.
What a shame.
It's a lot, and I deal with brownfields every day at my office. We write brownfields grants, we bring them into the region. It's very complicated stuff and extremely costly. But ma'am, I'm sorry, I don't know you, but it has to be done.
Yeah, I know.
You really, I mean, I stare out my living room window at the Temple Stewart water tank every night,
You love
and I
it.
look at it and I say, we gotta do something. So, yes, but I feel your pain a little bit, yes, ma'am.
Great. Luann, we don't have any TIF or DIF policies in town through your office, do we?
No, that's through the Board of Selectmen, you guys monitor it. There's only one TIF in town, was 2008, but they didn't really adhere to the guidelines with the town or with the state, so
Oh, that's,
they've been
okay.
recently taken out.
Okay.
Has it been decertified by the state? Is that what you're talking about?
State sent paperwork to the town, but I'm not sure where it went.
Okay,
That's what you said the other day.
okay, so that's interesting. Can I look into that with you? Okay, great. Thank you so much.
I'm sorry there was so much information, but I knew you had a lot of questions. I apologize. We will streamline our presentation.
That'd be great. Thanks so much for coming.
Thank you very much.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah,
for
thank you,
having me.
Glenn.
Thanks, Bob.
Appreciate your time.
Where's Donald when we need him?
Mhm.
You better let me do it best.
Glenn, Walter
Do
Wall.
we need to go to executive session?
Mr. Chairman, I would ask that you go into executive section to discuss strategy with respect to litigation, as an open meeting discussion may have a detrimental effect on the litigating position of the public body. I do not anticipate you re-entering public session except for the purposes of adjournment.
Okay, I have a second.
Second.
A motion second. Any other discussion? I see none. John?
Yes.
Julie?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Thank you all for